Hi, everyone, and welcome to my weekly update for our Strategic Missional Leadership online course. Well, now that we have turned the corner from our Easter celebration to the start of a new week, I pray that you are doing as well as can be expected in the reality of our social isolation and the disruption in how we live life and how we work and how we minister to people. I know that these have been very difficult weeks and we have weeks left in front of us, but we are starting to see some positive changes in our country, and I am believing that next month we will begin to see some very positive starting up of various aspects of our society and of life as what we consider to be normal, as near normal as possible over these next 30 days to 60 days. Well, with that said, we are nearing the end of this semester, and so I want to just give you a couple of quick notes about where we are today. First of all, I am continuing to grade your assignments. I'm working on your week 5 papers for your MAPS project, and I'll complete those by tomorrow sometime. And so make sure and kind of check back and if I've given some note or comment to kind of read over those comments. And if you have questions, please let me know. I will say that I was quite challenged by the grading for week 4's paper on vision and values. Made a number of comments, took a great deal of time reading and rereading what you have written. For a number of you, a majority of you, I think you were challenged a little bit by this assignment, and understandably so. There are a couple things in the development of this course that I think could have been clearer on the front end, and so my comments, maybe it's somewhat confusing on the back end for a few of you when you're trying to figure out, well, what am I looking for? Well, let me put it this way. I think this might be helpful. When it comes to the vision aspect, it's important to be able within a project like we're asking for in this particular course to make sure that you are focusing the vision for your ministry or your organization or the church you serve specific to the project itself. So, for instance, if you are dealing with developing a discipleship strategy in a local church, then you want to make sure that the focus of the vision that's described in your paper relates to how are you going to develop disciples. Now, your vision for the ministry and the church you serve may be very broad, may be very much encompassing of evangelistic opportunities and challenges to reach people that are lost and far from God. But this project is not about about evangelism, it's about discipleship. And so the vision needs to speak to that. In other words, don't just simply cut and paste your church's vision statement without any regard to the specifics of the project. You may start there in the broadest sense of vision, but the vision, in order to connect to the strategy and to the implementation, the vision needs to paint a picture that specifically relates to how are you going to help raise up mature disciples of Jesus Christ, okay? And then in the values section, many of you, and again, understandably so, took the initial assignment at the very beginning of this semester on core values, personal, private core values, and simply then added them into this assignment. If you go back, if you haven't, and a number of you, majority of you have not watched or listened to the audio teaching PowerPoint presentation that I uploaded to the YouTube page at Dr. John Sperling. In that, I explain a transition that takes place in our understanding of moving from private values to corporate or public or community or cultural values. For instance, you could have as a private value a one-word creativity, for instance. You value creativity, innovation, creativity. When you move that into the cultural or the corporate context of this project, where you have many other people who will be participating in the implementation of the strategy, then it's very important that you include an adjective or a descriptor word or a word of action, something like contagious creativity. In that, what you're doing is you are providing some movement to the value, some depth, and then you make a statement, a description of what that means. If you go back, for instance, to the paper that I sent out, the skeletal outline, I list about 6 different corporate values there, and they all have these kind of 2-word descriptors and then a statement that supports that. When you look at the PowerPoint presentation in the YouTube page, you'll notice I put in a number of corporate value statements from secular businesses like Uber. Uber uses one that I like. It says, "Do the right thing," period. That's their value. So it's speaking, but you see the action that's there in that statement. So the value, the deep held value there in doing the right thing, period, is maybe integrity. And so, but in order just to say integrity, well, then you've got to describe what does that mean when you're dealing with other people. How do they personalize and absorb a collective sense of a cultural value that we all live by? And so ultimately, the value needs to speak about something that is actionable, is being lived out. So if integrity is important, then some statement like "do the right thing," period, may have enough tribal language knowledge within the group that everyone understands when we say, "Hey, do the right thing," period. That what we're saying there is that just live by integrity and make wise decisions based on conviction. Don't just make decisions, but make sure that you're basing it on integrity and conviction and not personal gain or some other unproductive motivation. So I hope that helps. You can go back and the final project and just work with that a little bit. Again, it could be just a 2-word statement like broadband love versus just love. Broadband love, then in that description that follows, speaks about love that is universal, that is, it touches every element of the ministry that this team is reaching, serving. Like I said, a contagious creativity or a missional lifestyle. It's not just mission, but it's mission as a lifestyle, not as a project, not just a ministry trip or a missions trip, but a missional lifestyle. Okay, so go back and review that. You don't have to do anything now except in your final paper, final project, you might want to consider how those values can come alive. And again, go back to the skeletal outline. I have some examples, or you can look at those online, or be sure to go back and listen to that audio teaching on values and vision. So as we look to this week, again, assignments due tomorrow night. Paper that's due is on structure. So we're looking at the structure of your project. So you want to make sure that you follow through on that, and some of the things that Malfer shares, things that I've shared with you as well, can help you understand that sense of the support mechanism to help the strategy be streamlined in the process phase of implementation. So that's this week. And then the final paper next week will deal with implementation aspects as we wind down here to or gear up for the final project to be written and turned in. So if you run into some obstacles along the way, then reach out to me, and I'd be happy to set up a phone call with you or back and forth emails, whatever is helpful to make sure that you are on course and stay on course. As you now are really in these last couple papers, about 30 to 40% of the final project is written in these 10 days. So I want to make sure that you are not unduly frustrated by the process, but as you go through each of those, the mission, the vision, the values, the strategy, structure, implementation, evaluation, that it's clear in your heart and mind, and it is a process that can be repeated throughout the remainder of your ministry life as a leader, so that you can live out a strategic lifestyle that's intuitive, that just is part of the natural rhythm of your leadership and how you see challenges, crisis, and opportunities in the future, and how you apply yourself to taking a vision, dream, and seeing it manifested in the outcomes by walking through a strategic plan of action. So again, if I can be of help to you, I'm here to serve. Otherwise, God bless you. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week.